So I don't have a whole bunch of kids, but I was like, she had multiple kids. She had like 4 kids.
Just act like there's.
Yeah, I was like, just multiply this by 2, and multiply.
Like
It's crazy,
act
right?
like there's a lot.
I was like, well, we're gonna start off with these 2 kids, but there was 4 kids that she had, and she was wanting Jacob to basically love her because he loved Rachel still. That was kind of the whole deal. And she was like, if I keep giving him sons, he's gonna love me. But now we're in.
Can I read this chapter in my book?
Yeah, we're gonna probably. Yeah, just read like 5 verses, and then I'm gonna talk about it a little bit.
Okay, when Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, she became jealous of her sister. So she said to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." That's verse 1.
Yeah.
Jacob became angry with her and said, "I am in the place of God. Who has kept you from having children?" Verse 3. Then she said, "Here is Bilhah, my servant. Sleep with her so that she can bear children for me, and I too can build a family through her." So she, chapter 4. So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife. Jacob slept with her, and she became pregnant and bore him a son. That's 5.
Okay, so Rachel could not bear any children, so she was getting very jealous because he married them both. So they both want to have kids, and they both want to be loved. And you know, back then, if you had a kid, it was like you were good for a family, basically. Like,
It gave you
Now
honor.
I see
yeah, it
5.
basically gave you like kind of honor because that would be your legacy, technically. Like if you had like people weren't always really happy when they had daughters because they weren't able to like carry on the family name. With sons, they were able to carry on the family name. So Rachel was very jealous of her sister. She was just mad. And so she went up to Jacob and she's like, "Give me a son or I'm going to die." Very overdramatic, but I mean that's just kind of how it is. She's like, "Give me a son, I'm gonna die."
Like people when they rip their clothes.
Yeah, like when they rip their clothes, like when Jesus was like that, they rip their clothes. Over dramatic, but it would be symbolic. I'm gonna die. And so Jacob, of course, is like, "I am not God. I can't just make you bear children. Like that's kind of hard for me to do. Like I can't do that." So she was like, I have a way to do this. So back in the day, they would sometimes, if they couldn't bear children, they had maid servants, and the maid would sleep with the husband, and then they would basically have their kids not actually being their own flesh and blood, but it would be like, okay, since she's my servant, she's basically, if she gives birth to a kid, that's basically my son as well. And so she basically told her servant to sleep with her husband, and then they would bear a kid, and that would be her son. And so that kid was named. We're gonna read verse 6 through 10. So it says, "Then Rachel said, 'God has judged my case, and he has also heard my voice and given me a son.' Therefore she called his name Dan. And Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, 'With great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed.' So she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob as wife. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son." Okay, so it's kind of a sister feud, I guess. It's weird. But God has been blessing. So I believe he told Jacob that he was going to have kids and that his kids were going to be numerous. So this is like, I think this is where this verse kind of comes into, that God said that his basically family is going to be big. And so they're saying all these kids and all this stuff happened with, sister, but at the end of the day, it's still about kids, and it's still about the blessing that God says. If he says that he's going to bless you in a certain way, he actually does mean it, and he will fulfill his promises. But he is also, like, all these different sons are actually different tribes as well. But we're going to go into that as well. So we're gonna start in verse 25. By the way, if you guys are following along, verse 25. Yeah, you can read verse 25 through 30 if you want to.
Okay. After Rachel had Jacob spoke to Laban, he said, "Send me on my way. I want to go back to my own house and country, and give me my wives and children. I worked for you and to get them, so I'll be on my way."
Okay, so what's happening right now is Laban and Jacob are having a conversation, and Jacob wants to leave with his family and his wives and basically everything that he's basically owed because he's been working for him for a little bit. So he's saying he just wants to leave, and that's normal. You don't want to stay in your wife's father's house forever. You want to leave and make your own family, and make your own land and destiny and stuff like
I
that.
just realized I actually read way too far. I'm on verse 34 now.
It's okay. We're going all the way to the end of this chapter, so.
Can I just read ahead?
Yeah, just answer questions when they come up. No, I'm sad. But I'm gonna read 31 to 35.
So why didn't Laban want him to leave?
Because he was blessing his property. I mean, he was able to get all these sons, and he's also a great worker. He said that, "Please stay. If I have found favor in your eyes, I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for your sake." So that also goes with like your regular lives, guys. Like in my own work, I have blessed my job, and they tell me this a lot. They're like, "There's something different about you, Josh. Like I'm not like other people because I have the Lord's favor on me, and by working for them, I'm giving them a little bit of the Lord's favor. Like I'm giving my own blessing to them." And I've had that multiple times now. It's not even like, oh, it only happened once. Like it happens like almost every monthly. They're like, "Josh, we're really happy that you're here." And I'm like, great. I'm like, good that you're happy that I'm here. But this is what happens. Like even in school, even at your own homes, everything like that. Whatever you do, you have the Lord's favor on you. So do it well. Do it for the Lord, because it's not even about them, but do it for the Lord. Like if you're doing your own schoolwork or anything like that, you will excel in school. I actually excelled in school in high school because I was following the Lord and doing stuff diligently and stuff like that. I'm 22.
Okay, finish that chapter. 22?
Yes.
How are you 22? I helped my mom with the laundry because we have to carry a basket, a big basket of laundry downstairs, taking a coin basket because we live in an apartment, and we have to use 7 coins for the washer and the dryer. Simon comes with me downstairs and helps me. We have to put in laundry detergent.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we're gonna put the washer into the dryer, we bring some dirty clothes down also. And then we use the basket that we use for the dirty clothes.
Exactly. Like do whatever you do to the Lord. Like always just have a thankful heart, because I've learned that a lot. Always having a thankful heart. Doing whatever I'm doing. Even in this, I have such a thankful heart. I've been down here for like 7 years, and now I'm supposed to move somewhere else. But I am so thankful that I was able to learn stuff down here. Like, none of you guys know this, but when I first started, I didn't know. I started when I was 13 down here. I didn't know everything I needed to know down here, but I was like, so when I was down here with Pastor Kelly, and she would teach me stuff all the time, and she'd be like, "Okay, Josh, what does this mean?" And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I had no clue, but I learned about it, and I'm so thankful that I was able to be down here, and now I'm able to teach you guys a little bit of what I kind of know, and then you guys could teach the next generation, the generation after that. I think what this is trying to tell you guys is that whatever you're doing, do for the Lord, and do with a right heart, because he worked for him for how many years now? He worked for him for a long time, and so
in all 14 years.
Yeah, like 14 years, but then I think a little bit even past that, because he was saying, "Hey, I want me and my sons and wives to leave. So he might have been working from a little bit past then too, but he worked to get his wives for 14 years. About.
Oh, the last church, it said that to him it felt like a week.
It probably was. I don't know. 14 years. 14 years does not feel like a week for me, but maybe for him
I mean,
it
like
did.
each 7 years felt like a week.
Yeah, like it could have. I don't know. Maybe. But yeah. So like, and then by the end of him working for Laban, he was able to get his sheep, and he was able to move away with his wives and his sons and become prosperous. And so, for me, this is talking about working and doing it with such a thankful heart, and by the end of it, you're still going to be prosperous because all those years of work, like, it wasn't for nothing. It wasn't just in vain. Like, God's going to definitely bless you in